Ty Gibbs has now opened up about the sadness that his family has experienced with the demise of his father, which was one of the biggest topics in the previous season. You wouldn't wish it onto your worst enemies, let alone a more youthful driver who has yet to compete in the full-time Cup season for JGR, despite the fact that Ty Gibbs is regarded as a reckless and persistent driver. No person on the earth deserves what he is going through right now. Finally, he has given an update on how he is handling his father's passing, and it will break your heart. Ty's antics in the Xfinity series have helped him gain popularity in subsequent seasons, and most recently, he collided with Brandon Jones, another member of his squad, to win the race. Hello NASCAR fam, and welcome back to NASCAR Live. But before we begin, subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. And let's begin. Brandon Jones was eliminated from the competition in the closing rounds by Ty, who was already in the championship 4 and was thus also eliminated from the title match. That is not a successful driving skill, and the Cup Series has not yet sought for a driver with it. Nevertheless, even before he made any of the careless decisions in the Xfinity Series, his seat was secured thanks to the fact that his grandpa owned one of the most prosperous NASCAR teams. With a commanding victory in the season's last race, Gibbs went on to win the championship. His competitors, who were also vying for the trophy in a close race, were quite complimentary of the last race. However, they had little chance of winning because of Ty's outstanding performance. However, Ty's actions have deeply hurt Brandon Jones's feelings. He continued by saying that despite having great regard for Ty, due to what he did at Martinsville, he had lost all of it. This meant that Ty would now be one of the most dangerous and despised drivers on the grid since Brandon Jones left JGR from the Xfinity Series and joined JR Motorsport, a team with a good chance of making the Cup Series soon. In addition, he would be under extreme pressure to perform, which would be quite hard on his back. He is now playing for a group that has won titles in the past, so that's good. The fact that he took Kyle Busch's place is even worse for him because Busch was the JGR driver who was most beloved by the team's supporters and who, throughout his 18-year tenure, helped the team win 2 championships. But the manner in which he was fired in order for the team owner to hire Ty Gibbs in place of him is a bittersweet divorce and only serves to emphasize how everything is done for business in this area. Later on in this video, we'll discuss that. But first, let's hear what Ty Gibbs has to say about his father's demise. Coy Gibbs, Ty's father, was a highly esteemed member of JGR who passed away just one day before the Cup Series conclusion. What's even more heartbreaking for Ty is that he just won the Xfinity Series championship, and now he has to deal with the knowledge that his father, who was his biggest supporter, is no longer among them. Losing his biggest supporter and his hero before making his debut as a full-time racing driver in the Cup Series has left an irreparable imprint on his psyche and his mentality. This is a horrible scenario for anyone, let alone a 20-year-old youngster who is yet to make it onto the big stage. Ty hasn't talked about it since a few days ago, that much is certain. Ty also resisted answering any questions about his father at the NASCAR Awards ceremony in Nashville. Still, Ty finally broke his silence on Instagram by posting a video of himself hugging his father and writing some touching comments about their unshakable love in the caption. Gibbs expressed his affection for his father in the tweet, writing, "I love you, Dad. God gifted me with you in my life. I'm thankful for every second I got to spend with you. I appreciate your unwavering love and commitment to me under all circumstances. I can't wait to see you again. John 3:16." Prior to this, Ty Gibbs hadn't been spotted on social media since the evening of his first championship win, when he posted a picture of himself savoring the moment and thanked Mario Andretti for his congratulations. As we've already mentioned in this video, that was also the last time he was spotted online. Ty was asked about his father during the NASCAR Awards, showing that the media has no regard or mercy for this situation at all, as they try to elicit additional information from a young person who is now going through a lot in his life. Even so, Ty maintained his composure and gave a flawless response to the query, saying, "Yeah, I've been doing good. Thank you for asking. I definitely appreciate you guys. But we've been doing good, doing a lot this week for all this media stuff, so it's been kind of fun to experience all that. Yeah, for right now, I'm not going to touch any of that subject at all. I'm just going to stick with all the racing. The future in racing is undoubtedly bright for Ty now that he is a part of JGR as a full-time driver. The fact that his biggest cheerleader won't be present to watch him and encourage him in person is not a good thing, though. Additionally, he would provide him the crucial guidance he needed when things got rough. While we are convinced that Ty Gibbs is proudly watching over his son from above in the sky, Ty still has a lot of work to do if he wants to continue in the Cup Series. He must first gather himself and make sure he will live his life in accordance with his father's wishes. He faces a significant challenge, thus he will undoubtedly be unable to do it in that manner. He needs to put a lot of effort into becoming a better version of himself, since the last thing he needs right now is to be known as the careless driver who just thinks about himself. Ty Gibbs needs a massive lead at this point because many people believe that he would falter under the pressure of competing on a big stage. With his father gone during this time in his career, he will undoubtedly look to his teammates for support. To get anything, though, you must also give it back, and Ty must do just that. If he wants to be seen as this outstanding driver who is able to pick up tips from those who have more expertise, he must do this. Before his father passed away, he was chastised for both his lack of respect for other people and the way his grandfather treated him. However, aside from him, the unfavorable spotlight also shines on his grandfather, the team's owner, who handled situations in which Ty was mostly at fault. Ty will have to establish that his grandfather was mistaken about this. Ty Gibbs' reaction to the issue with Brandon Jones was the worst, and his grandfather and Ty are the most aware with it. However, some began to question whether Ty would be held accountable for his faults in JGR, because he has some very big shoes to fill after his grandfather stated that it is usually tough to address matters in which your family is involved. On the other hand, Richard Childress Racing is now receiving criticism for the way they are handling Denny Hamlin. Therefore, Kyle Busch will undoubtedly be driving Richard Childress Racing's vehicle and seeking retribution behind Ty's back. Overall, the squad owned by the family is having bad circumstances. If the future will prove to be favorable or unfavorable, only time will tell how JGR and Ty Gibbs perform, but one thing is for sure, Ty will struggle to justify his selection for the Cup Series. Given that he has the talent and the speed, it's not impossible even without his father's passing, but rest confident that he has a great future ahead of him if he is able to modify some of his negative tendencies, such as not caring about his teammates or any of the other drivers on the grid and focusing only on his reputation. How do you feel about Ty's confession regarding his father? Do you believe he'll be a reliable player in the Cup Series? Please tell us in the comments section. And what are the other NASCAR team's worst performances for 2022 aside from Ty Gibbs' incident? What exactly qualifies a performance anyway? Let's take a closer look. Although occasionally that suggests the occurrence could be connected to a bigger problem, for our purposes, we choose to consider a performance as a single incident rather than a trend. Anyhow, let's begin. Here are our picks for the worst NASCAR runs of 2022 that includes Ty Gibbs' event. At Las Vegas, Bubba Wallace deliberately crashes Kyle Larson. What happened? In a fit of rage in response to a mistake by Larson, Wallace hooked the number 5 car in the right rear and sent it hurtling against the wall on the front stretch of a 1.5-mile circuit. Thankfully, Larson escaped injury, but Wallace was disqualified from the race at Homestead Miami Speedway the following week because of a risky maneuver. Why it mattered. Wallace lost any goodwill he had gained from his improved track performances by making such a move at a fast track during a season when safety had become such a hot concern, including a victory at Kansas 2 weeks earlier. Christopher Bell, a Toyota teammate, was also eliminated at the same time. Bell later battled back to finish the season strong by winning at Martinsville and qualifying for the Championship 4. What it means now and in the future. Matt Kenseth's ban from the Cup Series in 2015 was the first for an on-track incident, and it appeared to create a boundary for what constitutes permissible retaliation. However, reprisals will now be constantly monitored because any similar incidents may prompt calls for other drivers to get the same punishment Wallace did. Wallace once said, "You live and learn, and I want to learn from this." Next Gen Automobile has trouble preventing head injuries. What happened? Drivers have been expressing worries about how they believe the energy was dispersed upon crashing from the Next Gen car's first on-track development, notably that they were absorbing the majority of the impact rather than the new vehicle itself. But no driver had suffered a significant injury until Kurt Busch had a bad crash in the Pocono races qualifying. Busch sustained a concussion that ultimately forced him to miss the rest of the season, forcing him to give up his playoff position and prompting him to declare he would not compete regularly starting in 2023. When Alex Bowman collided during the playoff race in Texas, he became the second driver to have a concussion. The injury prompted the championship-eligible driver to miss 5 playoff events, assuring his inexcusable elimination from the playoffs. Why it mattered. Since Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s death on the last lap of the Daytona 500 in 2001, this has been the sport's worst safety problem. Drivers cried out for NASCAR to act right now after learning that a design defect had exposed them to risk, a flaw that, in their opinion, could have been avoided. Some even went so far as to publicly criticize NASCAR's leadership. NASCAR admitted its errors and replied by saying adjustments would be made to the rear of the car for the upcoming season to better safeguard drivers, even though no immediate changes were done. What that means right now in the future. It's unclear whether the new rear clip with a more energy-absorbent bumper would fix the issue, but NASCAR claimed testing at an Ohio crash facility showed the upgrade should result in a safer car. And that ends today's episode. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please click on the like button and share it with your friends and family. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see even more of our incredible videos. You can also check out our other videos that have been specially selected for you. We'll catch up in the next video.